Clinging to any type or form of narrative structure is going to prohibit us from realizing our own potential to the degree in which we might sabotage our own blessings just because unconsciously we are programmed to operate in a certain way. Think about scarcity, for example. If you were raised to be in lack and you were raised to perceive that you're never going to be enough and you're never going to have enough, and you have to constantly struggle for things, you have to constantly fight for things, all these, whatever it is, unless you change the subconscious programming or the thought algorithms of that narrative structure, you're going to exhibit and experience those types of narrative structures that maybe you don't even want to experience. So we have to ponder to ourselves what exactly is the most important and what exactly is our drive and our state of being that we are wanting to embody. Because if we don't know what we want to embody, it's going to be really hard to do anything that we want to do. And a lot of people will jump from thing to thing, thinking that they're doing something special. And that's the ego, right? The ego wants to be super special. The ego is, oh, I am just so amazing in creating this thing, or I am just so this or so that, or I am such a chosen one. I must be chosen by the soul of existence, by God himself so much, because oh my gosh, I must just be so chosen because I'm getting attacked at every single corner. The ego loves that. The ego loves to feel like a martyr. And because it wants to replicate and milk its own suffering. And it wants to dance with the devil. It wants to... Now, when I say that, I mean this archetypally. But even then, archetypes, I've considered this a lot recently, which I'll go through on another video. But Carl Jung's archetypes, for example, I realized this literally within the last 24 hours, is that archetypes are narrative structures. And so if you get too consumed with the narrative structures of these archetypes and how they express yourself, how you express yourself through the archetypes, you're actually going to put yourself more tightly bound. And that was really something, because I knew there was something that, as far as blessings are concerned, when it comes to understanding certain things, these blessings come out of the blue and they come in hot. Like your blessings right now might be coming in hot out of the blue, for just out of nowhere. You have no clue where they came from. You just know that they they fell in your lap. After all of these things, you feel as though you just keep having to fight and you keep having to fight. But then when you finally relax and you just settle into the moment and you appreciate the moment as it is, and you acknowledge that you are where you are for a reason. You may not know the reason just yet, but you trust that it's for a reason. The more you lean into trust, the more you lean into love, really. And you be love. You be miracles. You be trust itself. You be love itself. You embody these things. I mean, when Christ said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. Well, at first glance, that kind of looks like an egotistical thing to say. But what he's saying is that if you want to embody love, do this. And that's really something to not think about. It's not something to think about. It's just something to be. And this is much easier said than done, of course. But we have to trust the process. And we have to just trust that whatever is going on in our domain of being is for the best. And we have to trust that this life that we're living is for a reason. Even if it's not clear to us what that reason is exactly, we have to just simply trust that what we're doing and why we're doing it, no matter who we're doing it with, no matter what we're doing and why we're doing it, is going to be for something more. Especially those that are actually seeking, well, seeking being a non-seeker. That's really what I've begun to think about more. And even when I say think about it, it's more of just, when I say thinking now, it's more like allowing whatever arises to arise and just be the reason and be the miraculous reason for it. I'm no longer thinking. The language is very interesting here, because we can get so caught up in the words that we create and curate a reality that we're not really ready for. So we have to be mindful of that. But nonetheless, we live in a very great time where we have access to so much knowledge and so much wisdom at all times, and all we have to do is have the courage to reach out and have the courage to embody that oneness of life. And I mentioned this in the Regal Academy group call earlier today, and I mentioned how I'm no longer feeling as though, when I ask people what they think, I'm not asking what they think from a form of like a logical output. I'm more asking them, what is the experience of their mind in the mental plane when they perceive this certain topic or this certain thing. And it's very humbling, I would say. And yet simultaneously, it's just so freaking beautiful that it's just like, it fires you up, man. It's like, this is so cool. This life is so awesome. We are so blessed. And yet at the same time, there's that inner peace that just, okay, this is what's happening now. Okay. And it's a great spiritual practice to be able to recognize that this is happening to begin with. But even more so, it's just a blessing to see the process. And whatever blessing that you have, like a lot of people, their blessings they don't even know they're blessings until they're shown how to be relieved of those blessings. Like, we have the great fortune in America where we have clean water available pretty much at all times. We have food pretty much available at all times. Is it the most programmed country in the world? I don't know. Sure seems like it sometimes, but I haven't gone to other countries just yet. And I'd like to, but it's not been, well, I have been to other countries in the astral plane, you could say, and in the mystical beyond, I've had experiences. Anybody that's read my book knows about that. And by the way, I've had more people who have been purchasing my book, the Book of Oldishness, recently. And so I wanted to give a shout out to everybody that's purchased that. I really appreciate that, because it took me 5 years to write that book. And of course, it's it's not yet, I don't think anything can truly be finalized as far as the work in this plane of consciousness. And yet simultaneously, it can be inside yourself. The only work that we can really finish is acceptance of the work not being finished. Like, that seems to me where I'm at in the spirit of the time. I'm not saying that's what it is exactly. I'm just saying that in the spirit of the time, this is just how the unfolding is. And because I'm becoming more conscious of how, when something is not being received on your end, just like you can just like let it go, right? You can just let it go because we're all sharing a subjective experience. There are absolutely axiomatic truths and ontological realities or perceptions to be had, but the way in which we view those ontological perceptions and the way in which we view these things is not going to be objective, it's going to be subjective. So if something is resonating with you and you can, work with it how you want, fantastic. Otherwise, let it be like Taco Bell. Just let it, flush right through you, man. So that's really the way in which we have to acknowledge that we're not going to really have everything there is to have, and we're not going to know everything there is to know, and yet simultaneously we will know that. We'll just know it when we need to know it. That's the best thing that I can see. And just trust the process. And that sounds cliche, but when you trust your blessings are coming in hot, for example, when you trust this with all of your heart, I mean, there is nothing that you can't do, really. There's nothing that you can't do. And this is going back to Goddard's law of assumption. When you just embody the outcome, you assume the outcome, and then you embody what it would take for you to be in that outcome. Well, what would you do each day? Like, for example, if you want to, I don't know, quilt a blanket. If you want to quilt a blanket, well, what tools would you need? And, how much time would you need to prepare for this and to, I don't know, train? Maybe you need to train your hands before. You've never done, made a quilt blanket before. I don't know, but you have to make those steps to embody that being a quilt blanket maker. Or, for example, I've been making some journals recently, like some homemade journals. Like this is my first homemade journal that I ever made, and it's a paperback, the first paperback journal I ever made. And so I've been making these, and it's been a fun little project, but I've had to take certain steps to embody that, right? I wasn't just a journal maker, and I'm still not considering myself a journal maker, but what I'm saying is that I had to take steps to embody what I wanted to see happen. And we don't need to be concerned with how it happens. All we need to be concerned about is trusting that how we are doing it is going to be appropriate for what we want to see happen. Now, this can be a double-edged sword, because if you have intentions to manipulate people into getting what you want, then how you do things is going to matter even more than how you would do things if you were pure-hearted. Because if you're pure-hearted, your intentions truly are good, but things don't work out. I mean, yeah, the outcome is really what matters, but also it depends on what plane of consciousness you're looking at it through the lens of. If you're looking at it through the lens of well, the ends justify the means, well, then you basically give people permission to manipulate. But if you say, well, because that's Machiavellian, okay? And I actually did a class on the Prince and Machiavelli in the Regal Academy about, it has to have been about a year ago now. And that was a very interesting class. But man, is it rough? It's rough to look at those things, because it's nothing but ego. And Machiavelli isn't evil. He's just saying that this is how the people work. And he's excellent when it comes to the shadow and shadow integration. He's very excellent at that. But it's not, I wouldn't consider it unconditionally loving by any stretch. And I would say that to embody unconditional love is going to be more powerful of a frequency than any form of frequency of manipulation. So trust that your blessings are coming in hot, and practice being in that unconditional love state outside of personality. But also, you can still have your personality. But recognize the personality is just the role you're playing in the spirit of the time. My personality in the present moment was not the same and is not the same as what it was even just 2 weeks ago. So, let alone a decade ago, not even the same type of character. So, it really just, it depends on your level of perception and consciousness and the planes of consciousness in which you're operating. But to cling to any type of form of reality is going to it's going to hurt your head, and it's going to hurt your heart for no reason. So be capable of letting go. And with that being said, I trust that this message reached those that have eyes to see and ears to hear. And I trust that for those that are interested in the Godlike Mastery transformation offer that I have, that they will apply promptly, and we can get that going for you, because I have one spot left open for this month, and it looks like I'm going to have 2 or even 3 spots open for next month, but I'll keep you guys posted on that. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Peace, be blessed. Until next time.